Hey, welcome to Think Thursday from the Alcohol Minimalist Podcast. Think Thursday is all about your beautiful, brilliant human brain. We're talking neuroscience. We're talking behavior change. We are talking about your mindset. Are you ready to get started? Let's go. Well, hello and welcome to Think Thursday from the Alcohol Minimalist. I'm your host, Molly Watts. And we are coming to you live from Miami, Florida today. I have had a little bit of a delay in travel today, which has meant that this podcast is late to get out. You'll hear that it sounds a little different because I am recording it via my AirPods as opposed to my normal setup. But I am talking about one of my favorite topics today, and that is curiosity. And if you've been hanging out with me for a while, you know that I am kind of a science nerd, and I am really all about uncovering the why behind our habits, our behaviors, and about brain function. And today we're going to explore the power of curiosity and how asking questions isn't just good for learning, it's actually essential for brain growth. And we know that the brain keeps on growing until we no longer are alive. This is not something that just stops when you reach adulthood. Your brain just keeps on growing if you keep using it. And curiosity is more than just a personality trait. It is actually hardwired into our brains, driving us to explore, to learn, and to adapt. But here's the kicker. Most of us stop asking meaningful questions as we get older, which limits our ability to grow and thrive. And so in this episode, we're going to look at the science behind curiosity, how it benefits the brain, and practical ways to cultivate it into your daily life. You hear me talk about curiosity and compassion when I'm talking about exploring reasons we have off-plan drinking, but curiosity in general is something that drives me, that has driven me for a long time. I consider myself a lifelong learner, and it is something that I am super happy about learning that it is really good for our brains. It supercharges your brain. So let's start with the basics. Curiosity is the urge to seek out new information and experiences. From the time we are babies, reaching for shiny objects, curiosity is what drives us to explore our environment. And as we grow, curiosity shifts from being about the external world to asking deeper, more introspective questions. And neuroscientists define curiosity as a form of intrinsic motivation, meaning it's something that we pursue for the sake of personal satisfaction rather than external rewards. And that's important. But curiosity isn't just a fun quirk of human nature, it's actually a very powerful biological process. When you are curious about something, several areas of your brain light up like a Christmas tree. Let's break down what happens. So, number one, there is a release of dopamine. We've talked about dopamine many times on the podcast, and that reward system actually kicks in. Studies from the University of California at Davis show that curiosity triggers the release of dopamine, that feel-good neurotransmitter. And dopamine is typically, as we know, associated with rewards like eating or social connection or achieving a goal. And when you're curious, your brain treats learning as a reward. It motivates you to keep exploring. Now, here's the interesting part. The act of seeking information triggers a greater dopamine response than simply receiving an answer. That's why you feel a rush when you're solving a mystery or learning something new. The brain craves the chase, not just the reward at the end. So, for all of you who are thinking that your relationship with alcohol is driven by the reward system and by seeking dopamine, maybe you need to decide to try to learn something new, get curious about something, and maybe that becomes something that is an alternative for you, especially during the witching hour, right? Number two, the brain's learning centers are activated when we are learning, when we're getting curious about something. When we are curious, the hippocampus, the region that is responsible for memory formation, goes into overdrive. And according to a study published in Neuron, participants who were curious about a particular topic had enhanced memory retention, even for unrelated information presented alongside the topic that they were curious about. So we talked about last week about the hippocampus and about how that can be influenced by the by silence. And now we're talking about how the hippocampus actually loves curiosity too. You catching a theme here? In other words, when you're curious, your brain is basically in prime learning mode. And that's why students who are genuinely interested in a subject tend to outperform those who aren't. And it's also why curiosity can help us retain information long after the initial learning session. It's why I really hope that I'm inspiring you to get curious about your own brain, because when you start really truly understanding the power of your own brain and really being curious about it, it drives behavior in the right direction. Now, number 3, the default mode network. We talked about this last week as well, the DMN and creative problem solving. Silence helps helps inspire and reinforce the DMN. But the DMN, which we've talked about last week, is activated during rest and introspection. And interestingly, curiosity enhances this network. It allows for deeper reflection and out-of-the-box problem solving. Have you ever wondered why you get your best ideas while you're daydreaming or taking a shower? Like we talked about, that's the DMN in action, and it is fueled by curiosity. So now that you understand a little bit of the neuroscience, let's talk about the real world benefits of staying curious. Here's what curiosity can do for your brain. Number 1, it enhances neuroplasticity. Neuroplasticity is that thing that we've talked about ever since the beginning of Think Thursday. It is your brain's ability to change and adapt by forming new neural connections. When you are curious, you're constantly learning, which keeps these neural pathways flexible and growing. Think of curiosity as kind of a workout for your brain. Just like muscles grow stronger with exercise, your brain thrives on new stimuli. Research published in the Journal of Cognitive Neuroscience suggests that curious minds are better equipped to handle challenges and adapt to changing environments. In other words, staying curious makes you more resilient and more adaptable. All things we talk about being more emotionally resilient. So remember, curiosity drives that. Number 2, another benefit of what curiosity can do for your brain. It can delay cognitive decline. Studies have shown that people who engage in lifelong learning and curiosity-driven activities have a lower risk of cognitive decline as they age. I know that to be true. I watched it be true with my own father. And, he was a great model for me. And I hope I will continue to be a great model for all of you. One long-term study from Rush University found that older adults who frequently engaged in mentally stimulating activities had a 47% slower rate of cognitive decline compared to those who didn't. Again, you got to use it or lose it. And this isn't about just doing crossword puzzles. This is about staying actively curious and learning about new things, exploring things that you have not done before, taking on new adventures, and continuing to do that for the rest of your life, really. Number 3, being curious boosts emotional regulation. Curiosity doesn't just affect cognitive function. It can also improve emotional regulation. When you're curious about your emotions, and we've been talking about that a lot inside of Making Peace with Alcohol this month, we're talking all about figuring out your feelings. When you're curious about your emotion, you're less likely to suppress or judge them. Instead, you're more likely to explore them with curiosity and compassion, which leads to better emotional health. Number 4, Being curious can improve relationships. Have you ever met someone who was genuinely curious about you, asking thoughtful questions and truly listening to your answers? It's an incredibly validating experience. Curiosity helps us connect on a deeper level by fostering empathy and understanding. And instead of making assumptions, we ask questions and gain insights into another person's world. If you're thinking, you know, I haven't felt curious in a while, you are definitely not alone. Many of us get stuck in routines and stop asking questions. But the good news is that curiosity, just like anything else, can be rekindled and can be rebuilt. And here are some practical ways that you can do that. Number one, ask why more often. Remember when you were a kid and you asked why about everything? Tap back into that mindset. When you encounter something new or even familiar, challenge yourself to ask why it works that way or why it matters. For example, if you're curious about a habit you're trying to change, like drinking, ask yourself why you feel the urge. What's the deeper thought or belief that is driving that behavior? Number two, follow your interests. Make time to explore topics you're genuinely interested in. I mean, is there ever been a better time to be alive to find out information? I mean, it's at our fingertips all the time. Now, trust me, I understand for some of us learnaholics, and I can say that about myself. Sometimes I get stuck in a life, in a learning activity and a learning action to the detriment where I stop taking other actions. And I don't want that to be the case for you. So you got to pay attention. But whether it's learning about a new science topic, trying a new recipe, or reading about history, let curiosity be your guide. Number three, practice active listening. Instead of preparing your next response while someone else is talking, and we all know we do it, right? Focus on truly listening. Ask follow-up questions. Be curious about the other person's experience. This not only strengthens relationship, but it also enhances your empathy and understanding. I really want you to focus on that and ask yourself to do better at active listening. Number four, I love this one. Be okay with not knowing. Curiosity thrives when we embrace uncertainty. Instead of feeling frustrated when you don't know the answer to something, just view it as an opportunity to learn. And the next time you encounter a question you don't know the answer to, just lean into it. Be okay with not knowing. And number five, keep a curiosity journal. At the end of each day, write down at least one thing that piqued your curiosity today. Reflect on what you learned and what you'd like to explore further. This simple habit helps train your brain to seek out new experiences and insights. I love the idea of keeping a curiosity journal. Just one thing that piques your curiosity each day. As we wrap up, I want to leave you with this thought. Curiosity isn't just something you have or don't have, it's something you cultivate. When you stay curious, you're essentially keeping your brain in learning mode, which can lead to breakthroughs in all areas of your life. Whether you're trying to change a habit, improve a relationship, or solve a complex problem, curiosity is your secret weapon. I actually work for a senior living community. Many of you know that. And one of our core values, and one of the reasons I love working there, is that our core value, one of them is curiosity is critical. And I think that that is so, so important. And I would say that that is a core value that I embody throughout my life. And I hope you do too. I hope that it becomes something. Curiosity is critical. I hope today's episode has sparked some curiosity in you. I'd love for you to challenge yourself this week to ask more questions about yourself, about the people around you, or the world. If you have any aha moments, feel free to share them with me. You can email me, molly@mollywatts.com. Come on over to the Alcohol Minimalists Facebook group and share them there. And if you liked this episode or if you've gotten help from these podcasts, I would love for you to share it with a friend. leave a review, or, you know, just just let me know, because I really do appreciate hearing from folks, and it helps me uh, stay curious. It helps me keep going, and it helps me to be better, and for all of you. So I am going to get some shut eye now, folks. I have had a long day. Trying to escape the snow in Portland this morning. Was up at 2 a.m. and it's later here now in Miami, but I wanted to get this podcast episode out. Totally got my whole schedule shifted this morning when I meant to be podcasting or meant to be recording early. And so I hope you have a wonderful weekend ahead, a very happy Valentine's Day to those of you that are celebrating. And until next time, stay curious, stay intentional, keep asking great questions, and I will see you on Monday.